If you're new to my channel, please subscribe, like the video, share it, and leave a comment. Just be nice about it. So today we will be talking about Mr. Trump and him being the person once again hitting a record. The House impeaches Trump over Capitol attack. Now we all know this is just a publicity stunt. Adam Schiff and those guys. So Mitch McConnell's already indicated that he's not gonna bring forward the Senate meeting. He's gonna leave it until the date that it is now, which is the 29th, and the 30th or whatever is the last day for Donald Trump as President of the United States, which is very sad for me personally. I did hope that Americans would do better than what the rest of the world did, but yeah, they're going the socialist route as well, it seems. Either there was all these allegations about election fraud and so on, or is it just people that are uninformed, uneducated, and just voted for Biden because they don't like Trump? I think there's a lot of evidence indicated by the Trump team. I'm not sure why the courts didn't pick it up, but I'm sure they have their reasons. And I'm speaking in this manner because YouTube is kicking off people like it's going out of fashion. They are demonetizing people. They are removing videos. So I don't want to, I don't want to upset the corporate globalist big tech George Soros owned guys. So let's get back to it. The House impeached President Trump on Wednesday, accusing him of encouraging a mob that attacked the Capitol building last week. Now, which is very, very interesting because Joe Biden refers to the Black Lives Matter and Antifa riots as peaceful protests, and he condemns the violence. Okay, so he did come out and condemn the violence, but he didn't refer to them as a mob. He referred to them as protesters, and he referred to it as peaceful. Okay. And because he did come out and condemn the violence, that this is now made okay. But all the things, a mob and terrorists and domestic terrorism, that's all the things coming out of people's mouths at the moment. And I don't understand how politicians can do that, because you have such a large majority of your country. Basically, the country splitting off at the moment, and of those, of the half that would have voted for Trump, not all of them are hardcore Trump supporters. They are just people that look at the Democratic Party and say that, well, that's not what we want for our country and for our children. We don't want socialism. We don't want to pay high taxes. We want jobs. We don't want our jobs to go overseas. I don't want my child to die in a war which has got nothing to do with us. It's those kind of people, and they're being made out to be terrorists and mobsters. Which I really don't think is fair. I know life isn't fair, but I think it's not a very intelligent move from the Democrat side to do this, and I don't think it's a good thing to go after Trump at this moment in time. I know Dallas, they're looking at secession is it secession? I'm not sure what the word is, secession, but I know we're trying to do it here in the Western Cape as well. We've been going on for about 4 or 5 years, jumped through all the hoops that the UN wanted us to jump through, and now we're waiting. Okay, so there's multiple groups that have applied for this. They've received the amount of signatures. It's been lying somewhere on a desk in this at autocratic UN waste of time type, somewhere on somebody's desk, if it's not in the dustbin already. So whenever they get a chance to look at that, the United Nations might say we can secede from the rest of South Africa. We do bring in 71% of the GDP for the country. So I don't think that the ANC government over here would be very nice about that. The interesting fact is that because of the rise of the democratic taxes inside of their areas, and Texas became like a center for new business or center for businesses. So a lot of guys moved that to that side. People the likes of AOC, attacking, or what was it, Google or Amazon, that she attacked, and they not paying taxes and all kinds of stuff, so they moved their headquarters somewhere else. Ridiculous things being done by politicians that know nothing about the real world, to be dead honest. So this is where we're at. So Mr. Trump has now hit another record. He is firstly he's hit the fastest impeachment ever in the history of America, and then he's the only president that has been impeached twice into separate proceedings for two separate things. Now this is petty. I think this is petty, and I think it's a dangerous game that they're playing, especially if half of the country is now being thrown under the same sort of umbrella. Just because they're conservative, they are now being called out to be mobsters and attacked, and it's really a tough situation at the moment. So I'm really concerned, because I really didn't think that socialism would grow so fast in America. To be dead honest, we've been going through it for about 27 years, 28 years, but we didn't move at the speed at which America's gone. Donald Trump is good for the economy and so on, and I think he made a mistake with the coronavirus and his handling of it. But if you look at his track record, it's brilliant, and he delivered on everything that he committed to doing, or majority of it, in very tough situations where he had Democrats standing up against him the whole time, becoming stumbling blocks the whole time, and he still managed to deliver. And I wasn't a big Donald Trump fan growing up, and my parents aren't big Donald Trump fans. My mom still isn't, so she doesn't live in this country. Otherwise we probably would have killed each other by now, because she has her views about Trump, I have my views about Trump. Obviously she's right and I'm wrong. She's my mom, I can't say that she's not right. Anyway, so Majority Leader Mitch McConnell said on Wednesday he hadn't decided how he would vote on the matter. Okay, I want to go through this list. McConnell won't convene Senate early for a trial. That's on the 29th they're convening, and that date will stay. The 30th, I think, is the last day of Donald Trump's presidency. National Guard deployed to increase to 20,000 in DC. No, that's not data center. YouTube suspends President Trump's account. Google bans political ads through Inauguration Day. Republicans face reckoning with corporate America. I want to stop there. There are a crap load of companies that have now pulled back the funding and all the money that they're giving to specific representatives because of the fact that they stood up against the Democrats and said that they want a recount, and they are paying for it. And I mean, 10 of the 10 of these other guys actually voted against Trump in the House. That just tells you, the backbone these people have. Now, look, he's a bit rough around the edges. I know, I get it. But I mean, he's looking out for the small guy. And the argument usually is that, but he's making the rich richer. But by making the rich richer, by dropping taxes, by loosening regulations around employment, he actually increased the rate of employment, and the salaries started going up. And how is that bad? He proved that the opposite of unions actually work. The opposite of what unions do actually worked in America. Now, that is a scary thought if you think about unions. And the amount of money that unions make and the amount of power that unions make. Donald Trump has made a lot of enemies, and I've only driven Fords. I had a Datsun and a Jetta, a Volkswagen, and the rest of my cars have all been Fords. So in my lifetime, I've bought, plus the companies that I worked for, which I was the person that made the decision to buy the cars. I bought about 10 Fords, including my own. So Ford is one of the companies that are now going to stand up and say, we will no longer support the guys who stood with Trump. Now, that's a dangerous game. Companies becoming political. That is a very dangerous game. So that does tell you that this whole scenario about, I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say that, but there were this group of people that Donald Trump was talking about that is against perversion, they're Christians, they've got Christian values, they against pedophilia, they're against communism, they do a lot of research, they have this person posting stuff which they believe is somewhere close to Trump within his ranks, and they follow him and they basically look at everything that he posts, and then they try and make out what he's trying to say. So they've been thrown off. Trump has now been thrown off Twitter, Facebook, Reddit. YouTube has suspended his video and is now keeping it open or keeping it closed for a week, his account. But I think they're suspending that after it anyway. So this is just a easy cop out. They're not going to open his account again. This is the President of the United States of America. Because remember, he's still president. He's still the president. And big tech is doing all of this to him. And they think it's okay. These people have a God complex. And they are dangerous. Dangerous, dangerous, dangerous. They're playing a very dangerous game. Now, violence is a strange thing. And people are strange. There's an old saying that says that you can only kick a dog so many times before he bites you. And I think we've gotten to that point. And I think this whole scenario that is now getting Trump impeached, I think that situation was only the first of what's to come. I think moving 20,000 National Guards to DC was a very good idea, because that might, stop anything from happening. But I think that the country is splitting off, and I think that there's some dangers of violence happening, and the problem is that Nancy Pelosi is still pushing the race card. I saw her and she was still pushing that race card, and I'm like, I'm so tired and I'm so over this bull crap. Everything with her is a racist thing, and I wonder if she realizes that she's white and she's privileged. That's sort of a dangerous game. Sorry, my dog just fell over. He's hold on. My dog is going nuts over here. I've got a Weimaraner, and he is like a little puppy. He's almost 10. He's 9 years old, and he's still a puppy, and he thinks he's a little house dog. So you have this huge thing, and he thinks he can still sit on your lap and stuff. And he's got a bed in every room in the house because everywhere I go, he goes. So, but that's enough about me. Let's talk about the interesting part. So, Google bans political ads through Inauguration Day. So what does that mean? Because I think that what they mean there is Google's only going to ban Donald Trump's ads and the Republican ads. Republicans face reckoning with corporate America. Now that's the dangerous one. So here we have businesses, and we have all these oligarchs, and they are now deciding what may and may not happen, and who you are allowed to support and who you're not allowed to support. Now there's been repercussions, and I read an article about CEOs firing people that were at the Trump rally. Now I'm not sure what I can't figure out how many people there were at this rally. I mean, some people say, some news outlets, you can obviously figure out who, but they said there were a couple of 100,000. Okay, but when you speak to people on the ground, they're like, there were over 1 million people, a couple of million people there. So I'm not sure how many people there were. It might have been 1,000 people, but what has come forward is that they were fairly well behaved, except for a few people. Now there were bombs planted, and that was done before they marched onto the building. So those bombs luckily were found, and who knows, it was probably not for damaging the building, but for killing people that were marching. Or it was just put there to make it look like it was the Trump supporters that were doing this. And that could have been far right people that want a war, or it could have been the far left that wanted to kill people or also start a war. And it's ironic that they have exactly the same MO, they have the same sort of ideology. The one's better and the one's right and the rest of the world is wrong. And they don't actually get how close they are to each other. Now a guy like me, I sit in the middle, and I have conservative views, and I have I would say I've got some radical views. I mean, and then I've got, leftist views. Okay. There are some stuff I am very against. Abortion, I'm very against. Pedophilia, I'm very against. And normalizing these things, it's not on. It's really not on. I've got some stuff which I don't have a problem with, but I do think that it's being shoved down people's throats. For instance, multiculturalism. That is something I don't have a problem with, but I think it's pushing it down people's throats is a problem. I've got Muslim friends which I have gone to. You guys call it a barbecue. We call it a braai in South Africa. And you guys do it on gas. We do it on wood. So, but I have to take my own grid with, because they can't make, or I can't put my food on the grid. Because it's not halal. I'm not allowed to take liquor into his house, and I like a beer now and again, and especially when I'm going to braai. So, it becomes uncomfortable for me to go there. So I don't go and visit him because I'm racist or because I don't like his religion. It's just we have some stuff in common. We have work in common, and we have technology, and we love playing with new things. So at work we go sit for hours and talk, and we have coffee because we like coffee. So we got a lot in common. But when it comes to visiting them at home, I don't go there because we don't have, or it's uncomfortable for me to be there. So multiculturalism. And then the other thing is that there's already complications in marriages. Okay, if you take let's take Christianity, okay, and take two different sides in South Africa. So you have your conservative churches, and you have your what we call happy clappies. So I come from a happy clappy church. People dance and clap hands. My wife comes from a really conservative church where you dress in your nicest clothes, and you stand still and sing the hymns and stuff. Now, my parents were much more liberal when it came to things like what I called them. So I used to call my dad on his name. And one day in school, and I know this is a weird example, but just bear with me. So one day in school, everybody else was calling their father's dad, and I was calling my dad Dana, which is his name, or that what his friends called him and his family called him. I got home and I asked my mom, but why do I call him Dana and the rest of the kids call their father's dad? And she said to me, it's because you wanted to do it. So they allowed me to do this stuff. From there on, I called him dad, but they didn't have a problem with those kinds of things. And in the Afrikaans language, you have to say, it's something like when you speak to your honor type of thing. So you're not allowed to say you and to elder people out of respect. So there's a lot of differences just in a religious area. We grew up in the same area. We're both Afrikaans. We're two different churches, but with the same religion. But just that little bit of change there in how in the liberal values that my parents had versus the values that her parents installed in her, that caused friction between the family, because obviously me calling them by their names and stuff was a problem. I was supposed to call them, I don't know, I can't say it in English because there isn't really a way of saying it in English, and that's the problem, because my mom's dad was English. So, but I'm bubbling over here. Okay, so what the? So as I said, I am a Ford guy. Not anymore. Ford, guess what? I'm not buying Gillette anymore. They've lost my shaving cream business, as well as my whatever, everything and anything doesn't come into my house if it says Gillette on it. What was it? Toxic masculinity. We hate men. How can you? I don't get how you can take your biggest target market and attack them and call them some stupid crap, which in my view doesn't even exist. But anyway, so we have that. So I just want to move the screen a bit. Okay, so here's the thing. I haven't really been making videos because I'm a bit of a perfectionist, and I try too hard to get everything in the right way, and I just gave up on it. And I've now decided that I still want to make the videos, but I'm gonna make it on my terms. So if people like it, they like it. If they don't, they don't. I'm not gonna do as much as I used to do. I want to push up the volume of videos that I do, so the quality of the videos might vary. I'm going to try and push out one, maybe 2 videos a day. I know I've said it before, but I think I might have some time now to do it, even though I'm still busy studying. So I've got a couple of things that I'm juggling at the moment, which is problematic. Okay, so let's get back to this. The impeachment test. McCarthy's hold on House GOP. Lawmakers were seconds away from the mob. Video how a pro-Trump mob overran Capitol Police. Q&A. What a second impeachment would mean. Now, then Biden goes and says he hopes Senate can balance impeachment duties with nation's business. Now we all know that they didn't do anything for the past while, so why would they do anything now? So let's just read a little bit on what they have to say here. Don't know what happened there. Let's move that away. President-elect Joe Biden did not take a clear stance on the House impeachment of President Trump. There's in Afrikaans there's a word for it. It's or a sentence for it, a phrase for it. It's called a draadsitter. It's somebody who can't make a decision. He's sitting on a piece of wire, a barrier wire between buildings type of thing, and he can't decide which side he wants to be on. So, but you don't have an English way of stating that, I think. So President Trump but did ask the Senate to balance a potential trial with getting his nominations approved and moving an agenda that includes tackling the pandemic. So it's not really work. It's they must make sure he gets nominated. Oh, so it's about him. It's not about the country. Or is that not what is written there? Am I misunderstanding what is written there? I don't know. Today, the members of the House of Representatives exercised the power granted to them under our Constitution and voted to impeach and hold the President accountable, Mr. Biden wrote in a statement Wednesday night. It was a bipartisan vote cast by members who followed the Constitution and their conscience. The process continues to the Senate. Now, who's keeping them accountable? I really don't see anybody doing that. I'm not going to read any more of that. Trump urges supporters not to break law or use violence. And I think we can read this one. The White House released a video by tweet Wednesday evening in which President Trump implored his supporters not to break the law or use violence next week in the Washington, D.C. or across the country as concerns mount that the protests could become bloody. I want to be very clear, he said in the video. I unequivocally condemn the violence that we saw last week. Violence and vandalism have absolutely no place in our country and no place in our movement, he said. Mr. Trump has sent mixed signals since last week's violent protests at the US Capitol, and he has been criticized by both critics and supporters for his apparent indifference. Now, I wonder where they get these critics, because an analysis was done, and it sounds like that he says analysis was done about what he said, and nobody found anything wrong with it. I've listened to it, and it depends on how far you've drank the Luca. It depends on how far right you are, how you could interpret this, or how aggressive you are, rather than how right you are on the right hand side, not correct. Because I think what he said could have been interpreted in another manner by somebody who is looking for a reason or looking to make trouble because of the fact that they're upset, because the country is upset, and the Trump supporters are upset, and there's a lot of them, but there are some hardcore guys out there, and then obviously the people on the right don't like, or the far right don't like Trump either, and the far left don't like Trump. Well, 50% of the country, more than 50% of the country don't like Trump. I don't know why, but it's probably his sparking personality. Let's be very clear, I like Trump, not for who he is. I like him because the people like him, and the people are the people like me, the workers, the worker bees, the middle class, the lower income groups, the guys who can't afford a tax consultant to take their salaries and change it into a way that you pay no taxes. So Trump's brought down the taxes for people, and that to me is a big thing, because in South Africa at the moment, the guys at the top can afford to do all these funny things with their salaries, so they pay no tax. And at the end of the day, it's your middle class and your upper middle class that are carrying the country. And in a country where you have 60 million people and you only have 10 million paying tax, that's a problem. The last time I checked, we had 19 million people on SASSA grants, for some other reason, because of their age, because they can't work. That's not even the unemployment grants. There was 19 million, and 2.4 million people lost their jobs in the first 2 quarters. In the second quarter, when the pandemic hit, and now we're going at it again. So, this country is in deep trouble, because they're now also looking at doing what the Democrats are pushing for, which is a universal hospital plan, and pushed by from our side, and from your side by the Democrats. But on our side, it seems like the Trump Foundation and Open Society will be the guys that will sort of handle this whole process in South Africa. Now, isn't that interesting? So, Republicans and Democrats alike have said he incited the deadly storming of the Capitol last week. But Mr. Trump said as recently as yesterday that his remarks before the protest turned violent January 6th were totally appropriate. So that's about the tweet that he said, or what the a comment that he made about taking back the country. Now that can be construed as a lot of things. It could be, we're not going to allow them, we're going to do it the legal way, and he's never called for violence. He's always condemned violence. So this is just another ploy from them to get away with stuff. So, guys, from my side, I have nothing more to say, except for America, we're thinking of you, and we still love you, even though we don't always like you. Hollywood, I haven't seen any new pictures in a long time, so can you please put some masks or some shit on the actors and get them to go make movies? And then, guys, wear a mask. I know it sucks, okay? In South Africa, you get locked up now if you don't have a mask on. 6 months jail time. Wear a mask, not because the government tells you to do it, because if you wear a mask, there's an 80% chance you won't infect somebody else. There's a 20% chance that you're protecting yourself. 20% is 20. But 80% chance that you won't infect anybody else. So if everybody wears it, nobody's going to infect anybody. So just wear a mask. And the last time I said wear a mask, and then my video got cut off there by Mr. U and Mr. Tube. Then, guys, support Parler, support the Alt Tech guys. Gab, I'm on Gab. I've got another handle on there, so it is actually posted on this channel if you guys want to send me a message. And if you guys want to come onto the channel and talk about some stuff, even if you want to argue with me, have a debate where I'm right, luckily, because I keep on losing debates in my house because I've got 2 women in the house. So, obviously, even if I try and win a debate, they both turn on me. They can be fighting and then they turn on me, so then I'm the bad guy. So I don't want to fight, really. If you guys want to come on the show, welcome to do so, and then just drop me a mail. The mail address is in the About section.